Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing some thrift flips. First project today are going to be 2 jingle bell wreaths. Now I got these at Major Thrift. There's this purple one, and then there's also this gold one. Now I don't like the color of either of them. This one was ringing up $4.99. It wasn't marked. The manager was up front and she said $4.99 on this one, also $4.99 on that one. And I was like, I don't want to pay that much because I don't like the purple. And she said, okay, $3.99. And I said, okay, fine. So that was a good deal. $4.99, $3.99, but I don't like the colors. So today we are going to take these apart and we are going to make some scrumptious, rusty jingle bells.
I do believe these wreaths were originally made kind of as a DIY craft. I could be wrong. I needed to use my pliers and pull the wire apart where it was hooked together, and then I can just simply remove jingle bell by jingle bell. Once they are both taken apart, it's time to rust them. I am not sure how these blue ones are gonna turn out at this point, but I'm gonna try them as well. I put everything into some old glass containers, and then we cover them completely with bleach. Once they're covered with bleach, I am going to let them sit for an entire 24 hours. After 24 hours, our jingle bells are a little bit rusty, but we are going to need more than that. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the jingle bells, not rinse them, and then put them back in the containers. Once they are drained but not rinsed, I am going to cover them completely with distilled white vinegar. Y'all, please make sure you wear gloves when you do this. I feel like I'm Superwoman half the time, but this will really irritate your skin if you start to get it all over yourself. So wear your gloves, don't be like me. Once the vinegar is in, I am taking regular table salt and pouring that in as well. I used about half a container over the jingle bells. Now we put a lid on. I took them outside so this stinky mess wasn't in my house, and I let them sit for a whole another 24 hours. After 24 hours, it's time to take the jingle bells out of the vinegar and salt mix and put them somewhere where they will dry. They're still not looking super rusty yet, but now is when the magic is going to happen. The rust really starts to appear as they dry.
I brought the jingle bells in and hit them with my heat gun a little bit. It's so cold right now in Kansas. They weren't really drying, but they have come out amazing. Remember, these used to be gold, so they lost all of that cheap gold patina, picked up a ton of rust and texture. I'm loving it. The blue and purple ones, I was hoping they would lose a little more paint. I like the way they're looking, but there's still a little much paint on them for my taste. So I'm gonna do these like a second round. I'll probably end up showing them in a video later on because I don't think I'll have time to edit it into this video. But here are the silver sparkly glittery ones. They did the best in my opinion. They got good and crusty and rusty. I have 12 more of these that didn't fit. So I'm gonna go ahead and do them with this batch as well. Now that the jingle bells have had a chance to dry, I'm gonna make myself a little garland. I'm gonna use some of this rusty wire I got off of Amazon. I can link that down in my Amazon shop. I've got some jute.
I'm going very simplistic with my Christmas decor this year, so you could of course bulk up this garland. I'm using my single rusty wire and starting to assemble. I measured about 4 foot off, and now I am just threading my jingle bell through the wire and doing a very simple little twist to hold it in place. I'm not measuring here, I'm just eyeballing everything, and I get the jingle bells spread out amongst the 4 foot wire. Now I am taking some thin jute and tying the other size jingle bells randomly onto the piece of jute. Once I have those two on, I'm attaching that jute string on to my main jingle bells on the rusty wire. No rhyme or reason here. They all hang a little bit differently. They're all a little slightly different lengths. I wanted it to look pretty random. I tapped a couple of tiny little finishing nails onto my mantle here, one on each end, one on the middle. I hang my wire from the middle piece first and then attach it over to the ends just to make sure everything is nice and even. Very simplistic. I did end up adding a thicker jute cord, just kind of wrapped it around the nails and the wire to give it a little more pizzazz. But that is a step I thought I recorded and I didn't, but you can see it here. And I just love the way the final look came out. The little extra rope is hanging down off the end of the mantle. It just looks very simple, very classic. And what an improvement on those cheap jingle bell wreaths. They were a little tacky, a little outdated, and now I have got some beautiful timeless, rusty, antique looking bells. Drop me a comment below. Let me know, do you think I nailed this makeover or what? And of course, I had all of those extra jingle bells, so I put together 3 kits. I only had enough to make 3, but 3 kits are up on my site. It includes 18 jingle bells, the jute, and the rusty wire, so y'all can make your own version. How fun is that? And then I'll also have the great crusty, rusty, antiqued jingle bells up for you as well. This was a very fun makeover, a little time consuming, but it definitely was fun. For the 2 wreaths and all of the supplies I needed, I ended up paying around $20.75. After listing my 3 jingle bell garland kits and the single rusty jingle bells, I ended up with a profit of $104.24. plus my own DIY garland. So I would consider this thrift flip for profit a success.
If you're new here, you're going to be able to find all of these flips and the products I'm using over on my site, upcycledbybrie.com. I'll drop everything down in the description box below as well. For our next project, I'm going to be taking these 2 candlesticks. I actually thrifted them even at different times, and I'm going to be painting them the same color so they will become a pair. I'll be adding some wood rounds to the top of them to make them a little more substantial and help marry the 2 together. I've got my Klingon R12 brush here. It's a nice small round brush. It'll get around all these curves really nicely. And then we will be using DIY Apothecary, which is like a beautiful vintage minty green.
DIY paint is a clay-based paint. It is nice and thick and it is highly pigmented, which means your coverage is going to be amazing. You can see that here on this first candlestick. I'm using my Klingon R12 brush. That is a nice little round brush and it's going to get around all these curves perfectly. This clay-based paint dries very matte, which I love. I love a good matte finish and it will need to be sealed. So I'm going to do a coat over each candlestick and then go back and touch up any spots where I might have missed. I don't want any of the original color to show back through. I used my needle nose pliers to remove the metal tops off of both candlesticks, and a razor scraper and a little bit of lemon oil to get all of the thrift store stickers off.
Next up, we are going to seal that apothecary paint up with some DIY clear wax. I like to just take the back of my brush. I like to use a chip brush, and that way after they're old and gross, I can just toss them and I don't have to wash them out. Just take a little bit out of the container and put it on my lid, and that way I don't contaminate my clear wax with apothecary paint. I'm gonna do one nice light even coat on the whole thing here. You want to try to keep the wax coverage as even as possible on the entire piece. If you get way too much wax in one area, it can make the drying process really tough because that area will stay darker, it looks kind of blotchy, and you have to end up buffing it a lot. So just take your time when applying the wax, put it on nice and even. Usually wipe off any excess wax with a clean cloth or paper towel. Again, that way it dries nice and even. I'm gonna let this wax dry up for a little bit, and then we will give it some white wax. Now that the clear wax has dried a bit, we are going to go on with some DIY white wax. It is that same buttery smooth consistency. I'm going to start by taking a little bit in my low points. So this little indentation here, I'll go over that first. Now I'll take a clean cloth or paper towel and just wipe back the excess. And that will leave it down in the low points only.
Now it's time to add the wood rounds to the top. I've got Titebond Ultimate Wood Glue. This is my favorite wood glue to use. I'm putting it right around the rim and placing my wood round right in the middle. Now it is too cold outside in Kansas to use my air compressor, so I use a hammer, a finishing nail, and a silicone pad to attach the wood round to the candlestick. Now I'm taking a little bit of DIY Dark and Decrepit. This is a all-in-one product. It has a built-in sealer, and it is a nice dark brown color. It is going to cover up that nail perfectly. Let's take a look at the final result. These candle stands have already sold. They sold for $69.95. Let's take a look at the before picture. The tall silver one was only $1. The brown one was $4. I paid $1 each for the wood rounds, and let's say around maybe $3 for paint. Y'all remember I am a retailer for DIY paint. That makes it a little more cost efficient for me. So let's say I paid max around $12 for my candlesticks and all of my supplies. After subtracting the cost of supplies, my profit was around $58, making this thrift flip for profit a success. Drop me a comment below. Let me know which color of candlesticks you would like to see me paint next.
I asked over on my live haul if y'all knew what I was gonna do with these, and if you guessed bird cages, you would be right. They're gonna make the perfect little hanging industrial farmhouse bird cages. I went out to my stash and I have some random little nests and some tiny, tiny birds. Y'all know I love my tiny things. And we're gonna make some cute little floral arrangement nests inside of these old light cages. Now you could do a variety of things in here. You could do some pretty like wooden eggs, or leave the birds out. You could do just floral, but just making these into some tiny little arrangements and then hanging them, I think is going to be a great upcycle on these old unwanted light cages.
I used some Dawn Power Wash, sprayed these down, let them soak for a little bit, and then just used an old rag and wiped them clean, rinsed them off. You can see there's still some good gunk left on them. They still have that industrial feel. And this DIY is super simple. I started by just putting a little Spanish moss down in the bottom to cover the hole, and I grabbed a couple of my random birds and nests that I had in my stash along with some greenery and just put everything into place inside the little cage. I did use a little hot glue to hold my nest on top of the moss, but all of this would come out very easily. That way you can restyle it every season. And this makeover is complete. Let's take a look at the final result. I paid $1 each for these industrial light cages. I had everything else out in my craft supply stash, but let's say I paid about $3 each for these little industrial bird cages. I have them listed up at $14.95 each, making my potential profit around $24. I would also consider this thrift flip for profit a success. Drop me a comment below and let me know what you think about my idea for these light cages. Y'all know I can't pass up a beautiful box, so I picked this one up from Charlie's for just $1. It looks like it was an old pastel box. You can see some of the colors on it. It had a really gross, old, falling apart decoupage job on it. So I took some 120 grit sandpaper and knocked all of the loose decoupage off. And now I'm going in with DIY Prairie Gray using a Klingon F30 brush. I'm giving it one nice solid coat of paint. This is going to be my background for some JRV decoupage paper. This is going to help all of the beautiful detail of the scientific butterfly paper pop. Also, if I would have just left the old decoupage paper as the background, you would have seen that through the paper. These papers are 30 by 20 inches, so they are large, but you can cut them down for multiple projects. 18-pound paper, so they are thin and easy to work with, but also durable. My favorite decoupage medium is this DIY Crystal Clear Chandelier Liquid Patina. It's a multi-use product. You can use it for several things. This is my favorite. I lay down one nice even coat of that and place my paper right on top. I like a good distressed look, so I don't mind if there's a couple of wrinkles as my paper dries. I press it down flat and then do another layer of the liquid patina over the top, and I'm just using a disposable sponge brush to make things easy. I make sure I get all of the corners and edges down well, and I let that dry for a couple of hours. Once it's dry, I'm going to want to cut off the excess paper from around the edges and then also just help blend it in with the old box. So I've grabbed a piece of 220 grit sandpaper and I will sand right down around the edges, which gives me a nice clean cut. This is my favorite way to cut the edges off of my paper. And I know there are many different ways to do decoupage and to remove the edges. This is the easiest and my favorite. I also take that 220 grit sandpaper and just rub along the entire design, giving it a nice old distressed look. I paid $1 for my box and invested probably $2 worth of supplies. Selling at $14.95 already, I have a profit of $12.95 in this piece for a quick, easy thrift flip, making this another successful thrift flip for profit. Drop me a comment down below. Are you going to try out some of these beautiful decoupage papers now? I'll be sure to link them down in the description box below for you.
I I hope y'all had as much fun today doing these thrift flips as I did. I always enjoy these flip videos, and I know they are some of y'all's favorites. So I'll be sure to be bringing more very soon. So if you haven't yet, be sure to hit that little subscribe button underneath the video. There's a bell next to it. If you click that to all notifications, YouTube will let you know every time I upload a new video. If you did like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up and send it out to a friend. That will let me know to continue to make more videos like this. Till next time, I'll see y'all later. Bye, friends. First project, my chair is so squeaky. First project, these beautiful greenery, and I pulled a couple of these greenery picks off of my website. I also pulled a couple greenery picks. Cloth of my project, and then I will wipe back the excess. So this little indentation here, I'll go over that first.